Now, this is an interview that I've been really waiting in anticipation for. It's an interview that needs to be told. This meeting now all stems from the DFLA event that happened in Rochdale, which was in regards to sexual exploitation of children. The lovely lady in front of you on camera here is Linda Phillips. She will remember, if you've seen any of that footage, Linda plus some members of the DFLA presented a letter to Rochdale Council to no avail, I must admit, but nonetheless was presented with a letter. On that day, I must admit, Linda, I think we all rolled down there expecting, grooming gangs, this, that and the other. Your story took us down another road. Now, maybe members of the DFLA were aware of that. I'm not saying they misinformed anybody. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying, this is a slightly different avenue, but for one which is just as important to me. So when we had the brief chat when we was next to Gerard Batten, I know we did one another interview to follow it up, but we didn't quite do it. But your story is so important, and we've just had a little brief chat before we've started filming. And I must admit, I don't even think I'm worthy to cover this story properly because of the amount of detail and evidence that you've got. It's absolutely ridiculous. What gets me is that nobody seems to have covered this on your behalf of all of these years. No. What year are we talking that we've... well, by the way, hello, and thank you for taking time out for the interview. But what year did this all start, would you say?
In my case, it started in 1990.
1990,
yeah.
Right. Now, we're talking about some physical abuse that was happening on a regular basis to your son. What is it you can tell us about your son?
My son had some behaviour problems.
Mm-hmm.
He eventually was diagnosed with ADHD and obsessive compulsive disorder. Mm-hmm. But he was disruptive in class because he also has some sort of a social phobia. He couldn't be with crowds, couldn't even go to a birthday party as a kid.
Right.
So he got excluded from the primary school he was going to, and they had to go in front of the governors, and they was made to take him back. Within a couple of weeks, he was out again permanently. So then we had about 9 months at home looking for a placement for this child. 9 years old by this time, and then they came up that he would be suitable at this this place would be suitable for him at No View Residential School. I didn't want him to go to residential. He's my 9-year-old kid. You know.
Did you know what this school was all about?
Not at all. No,
right.
Not at all.
Okay.
But it was local. It was within 20 minutes drive away. So I thought, they promised me I could go and see him whenever I wanted, which didn't let me when I went.
So that didn't transpire?
No, it didn't at all.
Right.
Sometimes it depended on which member of staff was on. I was sometimes invited in, other times I was told that he was cross-country running one time, at Waves swimming pool at Bolton another time, out at McDonald's with members of staff. I just didn't get past the door.
Was there any way he could get in touch with you when he felt like it?
No.
Right.
No.
So it was only a one-way thing when they would allow you to have contact with him?
Yes.
Right.
He used to go on a Monday morning, he'd be picked up by school transport, and he came home Friday afternoon by school transport. He started coming home with lots of bruises and bangs, and I said, where have you got that from? And he'd say, I don't know, leave it, I don't know. And in the end he did tell me, because he ran away one day. They rang me and said he's absconded. So we got in the car and we went looking for him, me and my daughter. We found him, walking home. So we got him in the car and I rang school and I said, I found him, he's safe. Can I give him some food before I bring him back? They said, yeah, that's fine. But I said to him, why have you run away? He said, because I can't remember the house mother's name, but she was an older woman, and he's 9. He wasn't getting his duvet cover on quick enough, so she swiped him, and his face went into the radiator and made his nose bleed.
Oh, jeez, right.
So he ran away.
Mm.
So when I took him, I said, "What's this, Mrs. Suchabad? He's giving him a clout and he's banged his face on the radiator, made his nose bleed." No, that didn't happen. He's making that up. He's making excuses. So
And who did you talk to about that?
the headmaster.
Right.
No, that didn't happen. She wouldn't do that. So I thought, okay, you know, I know kids. I've worked with kids all my life, and I know kids can play people off against each other, right? And then one time he came home with an actual footprint on his back.
Oh, okay.
A bruise,
Yeah.
a footprint. And
Yeah.
I said, "What's that?" And he admitted to me that one of the members of staff had stood on his back in the hall.
Yeah, so you're talking an adult footprint, any kid's
Yeah,
footprint.
it was.
Right.
Yeah. And I got in his report. I found out why he'd done that, because I don't know if you want me to swear or not,
Say it.
but he'd called the teacher a specky four-eyed cunt in cheap trainers.
Right.
The cheap trainers made me laugh.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't have done, but
Yeah.
the cheap trainers. So he'd stood on him in these cheap trainers. So that was another occasion. There was a guy called Craig Leach who used to bring him home in his car. He brought him home one day, and my friend was in the house. And he comes in, Craig, it was summer night, and he said, "Can I play out?" And I said, "Yeah, all right, don't go away." And he takes his T-shirt off to go out with his friends, because it was a hot summer. He had the bruise this big on his right shoulder. And I said, "Oh, what have you done?" And my friend Sally said, "Bloody hell, you know, that's a bang." He didn't know how he'd done it. He wouldn't tell me how he'd done it. And I said,
So when you were asking, did he seem uncomfortable? Did you feel he was holding something back?
Yeah,
Right.
he was looking down and looking away. "I don't know, leave it, you know, leave it." And I said, "I don't remember." I said, "Do you remember getting a bang like that?" Anyway, got nothing out of him. So on the Monday when this Craig Leach came back for him, I said, "By the way, Craig, before you take him, how did he do that?" And I pulled his shirt back. He said, "He didn't have that on Friday when he come home." I said, "Oh, but he did, because I had somebody in the house."
So like he was quick to defend?
Yes, he
rather
didn't have
than-
that when he come home on Friday. Yes, he did. Because my friend Sally was in the house. So he said, oh, well, I don't know. So I still never got to the bottom of that. But all these bruises and bashings, he absconded a couple of times. One time they didn't even tell me that he'd absconded. They said that he'd refused to get in the transport on the Friday evening after school, Friday afternoon after school, so they'd just left it. And I'm thinking, why hasn't he come home? Where is it? And it was hours after.
Well, anything could have happened to
I
him and
know.
they weren't prepared to say anything.
They said what had happened was, he'd said he didn't want to get in the transport to go home because he knew his dad was working locally. Did he? I didn't. So they let him go to meet his dad at work. We're talking about 10, 11-year-old kid. Right, so, yeah. And it was just... And by this time I had got a new baby. And I was with this new guy who was very tall, very softly spoken. He was a rogue. You know, he was a scally, but he was very softly spoken. So you had to listen to what he was saying. You had to pay attention to him. That was his way. And it was actually his stepdad's funeral this particular day in Heywood. And on the way back, he just turns into school, and I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm going to see this lot here." So we pulls up at school, and we gained entry, but only, you know, we couldn't see the head, we couldn't see anybody who we wanted to see. Members of staff. It was passed between 3 members of staff. So my partner said, I need to speak to somebody. So these 3 members of staff took us into the office. So Richard said, "What it is?" And he said, "My lad's coming home with these bruises all the time." You know what they said to him? "But he's not your biological son." He said,
What?
"I'm in place of his father." And he says, "And I am sticking up for..."
It's irrelevant.
I know. So anyway, he says, "But what I'm going to do," he said, "when I leave here, I'm going to call into social services. And I'm going to get body grafts." He said, and every week when he comes home, and he was talking like this, he said, I'm going to do X marks the spot. He said, and then I'm going to come up with that graph, and I'm going to put the same marks on you, and on you. Now, are we all clear with that? Got up and left.
What was their response to that?
They was shocked. They was very quiet, and we just...
Because you've just said he's a softly spoken man, and is that
very
how he
soft
delivered
and,
it?
And in a shirt and tie.
Right.
Yes,
right.
yes. Because we'd just come from a funeral, so he looked the part, you know.
Right.
Just come from a funeral, shirt and tie on and all that.
Mm.
He said, I'm going to put it on you. Now, are we clear on that? Okay, thank you for your time. And walked out. And strangely enough, my son became less accident prone after that day.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they realised.
They maybe realised that Richard was going to knock 7 bells out of them if they carried on.
There's for me, from what you've been telling me, this is a school that was for troubled kids, you could say.
Yeah.
Kids with problems, which is very indicative to how abuse starts, because it always tends to start at places where kids are in vulnerable scenarios, or vulnerable children per se.
And away from home.
And away from home.
Family.
Yeah. So for him to notice that and then put it across in such a soft manner, you know, that must have shook them right up, because at that moment there, they realised the jib was up.
Yeah.
You know? So what happened after that then?
They went to France on a trip.
Yeah.
And it was all over the Rochdale Observer. The headline was "Sex in a Tent." They'd taken the kids camping to...
Do you remember that story?
Saint Malo, I think, in France.
Right.
Rings a bell. Yeah,
Sex
sorry,
in
it
the
does ring a
tent.
bell, yeah.
But I've searched the archives of the Rochdale Observer and I can't find that.
Okay.
And it was...
Was it on Granada Reports at the time?
I don't know, but it was on the...
Sorry.
Headlines.
It's all right, mate. It's all right.
It was on the headlines, and what had happened, the teachers was at it in the tents, and some of the kids knew about it. Now, I didn't know if Craig knew about it or not, so I wasn't going to mention it to him, because I would rather he didn't.
Yes.
But then he come running in one day and said, Dean round the corner had told him this is what's happening, because he'd seen it. You know, his dad had got the Observer. So I said, all right. I said, did you know anything about it? He said, no, I didn't know anything like that. Okay, that's fine. Left it like that. And then it became untenable, this place there, shall we say. He wasn't doing well there.
He's not going to, though, is he?
No,
it's not a place that's conducive to someone
No.
who has needs.
When he went there at 9 years old, in fact he was 9 in the October as he went there.
Yep.
And he had a reading age of 10 years, 8 months, so he was advanced with his reading.
Okay.
And he had maths age, because I've got the report from his previous school and the assessment they did on him.
Yep.
He never got any further than that. In fact, he forgot how to...
Well, let me get out your
Oh. That is what's thought about my complaints.
Right. The writing's a bit...
I know it's very hard to read.
It is. It's like a bit of a doctor's...
But this is here. My complaints are here. Reported to the Child Protection Unit. What happened? Nothing.
You've got the key word. You've got the key word, which is irrelevant.
That's all that really matters on it. Yeah, that's what they're kind of saying, aren't they? And that's bolder than any of the other information. So the point is clear there. And there's no verification into... If they was to follow that up and really scrutinise your comments and then come to that conclusion, you could kind of argue, all right, well, fair enough. They seem to have done the due diligence with it, but that doesn't seem... It's like they've read it, all right. Yeah, she's only one kind of measly common proletariat. Let's just push that away.
It's one of the plebs to read, because they didn't do any lessons with them. It was just like a glorified babysitting service that they just kept these kids contained. They didn't teach them anything. And some members of staff really thought, and it's in this report, that they didn't have to follow a national curriculum. They didn't have to teach these children anything. So all his academic studies just went out the window. And for a he taught himself to read when I got him a telly with teletext on. He started to read the teletext, and that's how he taught himself to read again. But he went to school in Cumbria after that, and it was fine, and he liked it. But then that school was closed down because the fabric of the building wasn't conducive to the health and safety of these kids. So, different story now. It was fine. But then he was at home again. From being 14, he's not had an education. So my idea then, Martin finds me, Martin Deegan, whistleblower, and he told me about these papers.
So who was Martin Deegan?
Martin Deegan was a residential social worker there, and
Right.
he actually, one night on duty, found the headmaster's office unlocked and went in
Right.
and had a route round.
Right.
And
So when you're saying having a route round, I'm sure he's not a cheeky little skeeter
no,
thief.
not at
I'm
all.
sure he had concerns
he
which
had
made
concerns, and he went
Right.
and he found all this paperwork.
Right.
So he stole it,
him. Right.
basically. He
It's the
stole
only
it.
way to
Yeah,
ascertain
and
it.
he blew the whistle. Now he lost his career, he nearly lost his mind, nearly lost his family.
All from that.
All from that, because
Why? What happened?
well, they were getting phone calls. When he blew the whistle,
Yeah.
and he went to the police and made complaints,
Yeah.
and the police wouldn't listen to him, and he went everywhere. And before he even involved me, he was going everywhere. And he was getting phone calls off men, unknown, saying,
You what?
he was getting phone calls, and they were saying to him, we know which school your children go to. Your 2 little boys. And we're going to collect them from school, and we're going to take them on a long ride. So he left Rochdale.
So because he'd scratched the surface on something,
Yeah, he was threatened.
then the question is, not that you would know, but who were these guys and who were they working on,
I
on behalf
don't
of?
know that. Martin didn't know
No,
that.
you can only surmise.
Yeah.
But it sounds like that he's hit the nail on the head, and there's obviously bigger people involved in this, hence for that to happen. But carry on, sorry.
Cyril Smith was a governor, and his
Right.
friend,
So there you go.
his friend Harry Wilde was also a governor.
Right.
Smith was an out-and-out pedo. Everybody in Rochdale knew, but nobody knew. Nobody. Farnell, he didn't know. Out-and-out lie. Out-and-out lie. There's no paperwork to say I've received a memo. No, because it was all shredded. Now, he's not daft. Martin and I went to the new MP at the time. She'd just been elected in the May, and we went in the December. We went to one of her Saturday morning surgeries, and we handed her copies of all these papers from the age unit. Says here for distribution only as specified, because it's confidential. That one there is Rochdale age unit. The Director of Education asked that AIDS coordinator not to make his findings public. Director of Education, all covering it up. Director of Social Services, all covering it up. And nobody wanted to know.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to know.
Because it goes that big and that
Yeah,
far.
yeah.
It's not just the school. You're talking politicians,
Oh, yeah.
and the police were obviously didn't want to cover it as well.
Well, it says in there, doesn't it? Please
Because they're
don't
looking after certain prominent people.
Yes. Cyril Smith was investigated, and then he was told that there was no, CPP didn't want to make any charges against him. Now, in retrospect, they say he should have been charged. He should have been.
And not only that, everyone who's held this conspiracy asylum
They
should
need.
be.
This is what I'm after now.
Yeah.
This is what me, Martin, that's our aim now. We want these people who knew about it and covered it up. I know the EXA report says they find that there was no cover-up. But what about this?
Come on, there's too much
What
evidence
about
there.
this?
There's too much.
There's
Too
all
much.
children's hospital. A
Yeah.
report on each of the children here.
Well, just to say there's not enough evidence, in the inquiry that happened on the day we was there,
Yeah.
it was concluded pupils were said to be exploited in the town centre, the bus station and at the public toilets across the road from the Borough Council offices over a 20-year
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
So they didn't know nothing.
No, they didn't. But there was police in those offices observing, and they saw a kid go in, but they didn't do anything about it.
Right.
They saw a kid follow a man in. Well, why didn't they do nothing about it? Why?
Because they know exactly where it leads to,
Yeah.
and who
And they had to keep.
ultimately.
They had to
Because
still
even
up.
if Cyril Smith wasn't involved in that, they'd be scared stiff that if they was to open this case up, that path is going to lead straight up to his door.
Yeah.
Inadvertently,
Yes.
if not directly.
And
So because of that, they can't
and
go anywhere
even
near it.
further on to
Um,
Parliament.
Yep, certainly. But Linda, we've got a hell of a lot more to talk about. We did agree that what we'd do, we'd cut the
Short
segment
burst.
short, yeah, just so we're not really making it long and dragged out, because this is a story that needs to be heard, and I don't want people to kind of miss bits of information because it's 3/4 of an hour in, this, that and the other, so we want to keep it short. So look out for part 2, guys. You can see that this is only scratching the surface. I'm a mere paint and decorator, me, Linda. So when I'm looking at this and all these documents, I really do feel that I'm out my depth here covering it, but all I can do is calmly walk through it with you. You can display any documents you want and just talk about things. So that's better than what you've been receiving so
No, I've
far,
had
let's put it
nothing.
that way.
I've been followed, I've been threatened, I've had strange phone calls.
Oh, right. We're going to stop here because you're touching on other things here now that we need to get out. So this is Red Pill Phil, guys. Look out for part 2. There will be a part 3 and 4, no doubt. There's definitely more to say on this, but can you believe it? Can you believe it? Like and subscribe, guys. Thank you very much.